Just under the surface of the soil, in the darkness, swarms a world to which we owe almost everything. The nourishing earth, a vital source, but made fragile, impoverished more than ever by pollution compaction. From roughly everywhere on the planet, warnings are launched, calling without delay for a change in our agricultural methods so that the soil may regenerate itself. But what is this soil so often unappreciated? The Earth's crust suffers the effects of the atmosphere. Water, air and biology deteriorate the rock, which disintegrates into finer and finer mineral particles. At first, stones and sand, then silt and finally clay. Just beneath the surface, organic matter is decomposed by bacterium, micromushrooms and other organisms, forming humus, which ensures the fertility of the earth and gives it its black color. Together, the mineral components and organic matter constitute the basis of the soil, the structure in which the plant life will settle and thrive, drawing, thanks to their roots, the water and nutritive elements which they need in order to grow. Earthworms play an essential role in the natural fertilization of the soil. They blend the earth in their digestive tube, where organic and mineral matters are united in the course of transit to form aggregates loaded with nutriments. The worms also play a role as real engineers in the structure of the soil. The galleries which they burrow can measure hundreds of meters for 1 cubic meter of earth, and thus creating dwellings for other organisms. Furthermore, a fundamental element, these galleries guarantee the flow of rainwater, the ventilation of the land, and facilitate the taking of roots by vegetable matter. For vegetable matter needs a porous soil rich in nutriments to ensure its growth. However, this living earth is very fragile and can be quickly destroyed when human activity is inadequate. The ancestral practice of ploughing is fought against today. It is a few centimeters below the surface of the soil that life favorable to vegetable growth organizes itself. The layers should not be mixed up, for each one shelters a well-determined population of microorganisms. Turning over the earth exposes to the open air subterranean life which has difficulty to withstand the light, the ultraviolet rays and the surrounding atmosphere. And the earth, packed down under the weight of the agricultural machines, is compressed into harder and harder clods, preventing the infiltration of water. One speaks then of a plough pan where roots can scarcely sink in. In this experiment, 2 identical seeds are planted, the first on the left in a rich soil, which has been removed from near the surface of the ground. The second on the right in earth extracted from deeper soil, lacking in porosity, and which few living organisms inhabit. The rich soil allows the roots to fan out in numerous ramifications which render the plant more robust. Globally, the agricultural production methods which we have inherited endanger the food resources, the environment, and the biodiversity. A massive deforestation is happening everywhere on the planet, such as here in Amazonia. In Borneo, the cultivation of palm oil is destroying the natural environment and threatens species who have been living there for over millions of years. However, on all the continents, solutions are emerging amongst those who cultivate the earth and tend to converge.
The agriculture of conservation is a package of techniques which one groups under 3 pillars. The first is not to aggress the soil mechanically. Thus, one will especially avoid plowing and globally avoid all mechanical operations. The second pillar is to have very diversified rotations. Instead of having 2 to 3 crops returning after 2 to 3 years, one will stretch them out by having 6, 10, 12 crops with very different rotation periods, and that will create diversity from which the soil will benefit. Then the third pillar is never to leave the soil naked. Sometimes during crops, but especially between crops, one will put in place what is called a plant cover.
The farmer from from Burkina Faso, Pierre Kientega, testifies about his experience.
Au Burkina Faso, où je suis,
In Burkina Faso, where I live with my wife, we received some land which was completely barren. We are adding some organic matter, dead leaves and straw that enrich the soil, which is regaining life.
qui reprend vie.
Yvon Chollet has practiced conservation agriculture for 10 years in the Geneva countryside.
L'agriculture de conservation,
Conservation agriculture is first and foremost the life of the earth. Our objective is to undertake everything to bring life into the soil. From the moment one has a living soil, one will be able to produce good quality food. The plant covers have several roles. They avoid the washing of the soil by capturing all the mobile elements in our soil which would otherwise be washed out. Thus, one will sow covers, plants between two crops to pump up all the free elements so that they won't go into the water table or into streams. A soil, if one wants it to work, must never increase in temperature and must never dry out. From the moment it is covered, it will be in the shade and protected from the rays of the sun, which will avoid an increase in its temperature. As soon as the cover is destroyed, it will be eaten, digested by all the life in the soil, such as mushrooms, earthworms, centipedes, and other microorganisms. This is very important. They need to have this food at the surface. The idea should perhaps be to create a label to promote the quality of the soil, a living soil label.
Pascal Boivin, professor at the Higher School of Landscape Engineering and Architecture in Geneva, studies the quality of agricultural soil.
donc là on a extrait un bloc.
Here we've extracted a block in a plot which is not in conservation agriculture, being very representative of what is done most commonly, that is to say, plowing. It was complicated to extract because the soil, once dry, as it is very compacted, becomes very, very hard. This is why we get this type of monoblock. As I rub the surface, we can see it is completely smooth, completely closed. Water will not enter, water will not be retained, so it is not aerated and it will not stock water either. I find hardly or non-decomposed organic matter. Unfortunately, this is representative of our soils in the region. By comparison, this is the same soil in conservation agriculture during about 10 years. We did not succeed in taking out a large block because it crumbles naturally. If I take it, I exercise hardly any effort. It will entirely fall apart and the aggregates are extremely porous and fine, containing many roots, lots of debris that are actively decomposing. We are on a very good path and we have already done an enormous amount of work.
To love the earth better is to move closer to the fundamental, a rallying point between those who cultivate it and all of us that it feeds.